Many people look forward to retirement, a time of hard-earned rest and relaxation. But for some, retirement offers anything but that. Life after work can be challenging. We are joined now by some retirees who have found the transition to retirement was not exactly what they expected. And with that, we welcome Dr. Leslie Weisenfeld. She is Deputy Psychiatrist-in-Chief at Mount Sinai Hospital. John Wright, who was a gastroenterologist and former CEO of the Scarborough Hospital. Mary McDonald, who's a retired civil servant with the province of Ontario. And Joyce Wayne, the living in retirement blogger for the Globe and Mail's investment section and an adjunct professor of journalism and literary arts at Sheridan College in Oakville. You're retired?
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah, okay. Leslie, I want to start with you because Don's story that we just heard really is a good news story, right? He found himself in trouble, he got help, he's feeling better. Is that typical?
So it's typical and it's not typical. In many ways, it is the good news story because this is a man who has a loving family, who noticed he wasn't himself. They had made some good suggestions about how he could access care. He was able to access it, found a good fit with his first psychiatrist. Psychiatrist made a diagnosis, and he got a good result from his treatment. I think a story that is also sadly typical is people are isolated and marginalized, and they may not have people in their lives who notice that they're suffering, and so they kind of suffer in silence. Or they have people who notice that they're suffering, but they're not sure how to access help. So I think in many ways it is a good news story, and yet there are a lot of people who are suffering and aren't quite sure what to call it, so don't seek out help for themselves.
Let's go around the table here and we have a variety of experiences at the table and just see how everybody's doing. Hi, John. John, you ran a hospital.
Yes.
How many people did you have working under you?
3,000.
You had 3,000 people under you.
$350 million, 3,000.
And then one day, it's over.
It's over.
Did you know that day was coming?
Great question. No, I knew it was coming. I mean, it was fine. This was the end of my term. We were happy. I enjoyed the new CEO. All of that was fixed. But I'd been a doctor for years. I've been a gastroenterologist, and as a professional, I saw my retirement slowly going down from 4 days to 3 days to a half a day and maintaining all those relationships. Well, at age 65, I was suddenly CEO of a hospital, incredibly busy, 12-hour days, and the last day of work was 12 hours, and the next day was nothing. And I had not prepared myself for that. I hadn't thought about it. I'd been too busy. I thought, in the past, I'll just do this, and I have hundreds of interests and lots of things I enjoy doing. And those are interesting because when you're busy, the things that you crave are reading and walking, all solitary. Mm-hmm. When you're retired, you don't, it's not the solitary you need, it's the social interaction you need.
Which you no longer had.
Which I no longer had, abruptly. And as a CEO, they don't want you around anymore. Or as any senior administrator, the new guy's got to carry on. They don't want you second guessing. And so it was suddenly, there was empty time to fill.
And how well or not did you deal with that new reality?
Well, with the help of my wife and the help of my friends, fortunately I have many from high school, and I joined a board, a not-for-profit board, wonderful board. We establish book clubs for inmates in federal penitentiaries across the country.
Wow.
And that's been fun. And I always enjoyed cooking. And my wife is very busy, so I have taken over all of that, and I've gone to George Brown, taking their full culinary arts program, which I find absolutely exhausting.
So you've gone back to school all these years later.
I've gone back to school, yeah.
Isn't that great?
So, but it still is, there's lots of time to fill, and there's the issue of social isolation that you have to constantly guard against.
Okay, thank you for setting the table in that way. Okay, Mary, you ready to go?
Uh-huh.
What did you do for all those years?
Well, I'm on my own, so I was basically going back and forth to work.
You worked for the province of Ontario?
I worked for the province of Ontario.
A number of different jobs?
Yeah, a number of different jobs. And the last 8 years or so, I was in a fantastically collegial environment.
Which ministry?
It was Community Safety and Correctional Services.
And what did you do there?
I was doing proofing, editing, doing some writing.
Communications work.
Communications type work, yeah, and loved it. But mostly, as is often the case with it's the people that matter.
Sure.
And as someone said to me at my retirement, you might not miss the zoo, but you'll miss the animals. And I thought that was terrific. Yeah.
Now, why did you retire?
Well, my age came. I wasn't the 30 and out group or the 90 factor. I turned 65, and there were some changes going on in the office, and I thought, all right, maybe this is the time.
Did you really want to go?
I was ambivalent, and I had gone to the province's seminars that they offer for imminent retirees. But what I found was that they were largely financial in their focus. So I got all that under my belt. But what nobody seemed to deal with was the emotional impact.
And what was that?
Well, I hadn't bargained for that. I retired in December, and I was going into the spring of 13, and then into the summer, and it was a beautiful summer. So I thought, this is great. This is a holiday, right? An extended holiday. It wasn't until October came that the reality kind of hit me that I have nowhere to go. What is my purpose? And then it started to really become a reality of having nowhere to go, having no job, being disconnected from this environment that I was in, this happy working environment that I was in. And the isolation became a real issue because I don't have the extended family that I could call on. So it was tough.
I noticed the Ontario legislature is going to start sitting again in about a month, and I wonder if, as you get closer to that, do you start perking up a little bit just by habit, because Queen's Park gets back into business.
Yeah.
And that was your business for a long time.
Well, for a long time when I was younger, yeah, it was. And it certainly piques your interest, that's for sure. And your heart starts beating faster and so forth, but yeah.
Joyce, I joked off the top that you don't sound very retired at all. You sound busier than you used to be. What did you used to do?
I used to teach journalism at Sheridan College for 25 years, and before that I worked as a journalist and in publishing for 12 years. So I worked for 37 years before I retired.
And when you say retired, it's in inverted commas for you. So what do you mean you're retired?
Well, it really is in inverted commas. I planned it for a long time. What I always wanted to do was to write, and that's what I wanted to do full time. But I couldn't, like most people who want to write, because I had a family and commitments and work and so forth, and I needed to have a job, which I did for 37 years. But for the last 5 years of those, I started working on a novel. I took a sabbatical for a year from the college, which is lovely, and I wrote a novel.
So you saw that date on the calendar that John saw, but instead of like John, when the moment just arrived and it was boom, it's like falling off a table, you were ready.
I was really ready, and part of that is just the luck of working in the public sector to a certain extent, in the college sector too, because they're very good at saying, this is how much your pension is going to be, this is what life is going to look like, and there were seminars and things like that. And I really knew what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I won't say I wasn't nervous. The month before I retired, I was really anxious. I thought, how am I going to pull this off financially? I was very concerned about that. Did I add up all the numbers correctly? Things like that. But when it came, it was absolutely marvelous.
Now, why are you still teaching?
Because I need the money.
Okay.
Because it's not quite enough. I'm 63 and it's not quite enough money. So, and also, I think as your other guests, I have to admit that I just very much like my colleagues. I enjoyed the social life at the college. We have a great office. It's in the arts. There's filmmakers, there's animators, there's all sorts of people. It's like a big sandbox. And I still love going in and spending time with them.
Now, how disappointed are you that John decided to go to George Brown instead of Sheridan to find something to do?
We don't have a program in the culinary arts.
Okay. Well, he could have been an animator or
But
something
he
like
could
that.
have come into animation, definitely.
Leslie, tell us this. We've seen a variety of experiences here, and one thing that seems to be emerging is if you don't plan for that day, you're in a whole heap of trouble. How key is that?
It's very key. I've said to colleagues and even friends and family that I think sometimes people forget that retirement isn't actually a thing. It's the absence of a thing. And so I think people really need to think about what does it look like. And I think some of those commercials from financial organizations that tell people, you know, freedom this and freedom that, give people the impression it's all roses, either financially or socially or otherwise. And, you know, it is for some people, but for many people, it's the absence of work. And so you have to think about what you need it to look like. You need to think about, if you have a partner, does it look the same to you as it does to your partner? If you were thinking you'd spend more time with your grandchildren, but your daughter or your son weren't thinking the same way, you need to talk it through. And if you were thinking there were some goals, some things you'd always wanted to do but you'd never been able to, you need to plan it out. And I think for many people, retirement is the first time in decades they've had to make some big decisions.
Well, let me pick up on that partner issue, because your wife is an extremely capable surgeon, and she's still putting in those 12-hour days.
Yes, she is, yeah.
So all of a sudden, your professional life comes to an abrupt halt, but she's still trucking along. How do you work all that out?
Well, I think it works out well. Among my colleagues in medicine, they often retired, went home to their wife, and their wife was not so happy to have them back, hanging around the house, getting in the way, making suggestions when they haven't bothered for many years. This gives me an opportunity to fulfill a role at home in the family. As I said, I do the shopping, I love it. I shop every day. Just like in Europe, I go with a basket, and down I pick up one onion, and I look up the recipes, and I cook, and I experiment with the George Brown stuff, and she comes home and it's all set on her busy days. And so it's given me a role and a function. So that's been good. Also, she has all her social activities, which I can take part of and support as well. So that's been helpful.
You, I guess, though, I shouldn't assume, did you have a choice about whether or not because how many years were you a surgeon for?
36.
Okay, so presumably that kind of knowledge would be handy somewhere to be a consultant or a guy who oversees or helps interns or whatever. Right. You chose not to do that?
I've chosen not to do that. I mean, I just flew out to Vancouver to visit the Fraser Valley Institute, a women's prison, and I found it absolutely extraordinary to see, again, a vulnerable population, but totally different. And at this stage, it's, I think, very stimulating rather than trying to go back and pick up some pieces to start something completely different.
So you were happy, even after all of those decades of practicing medicine, to just leave it behind?
I was, yeah. Isn't that
How come?
interesting?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I don't know. I've always been able to move on from time in the military, always able to move on to something else, which is a good advantage, I think.
Did you, as our previous guest, the chartered accountant Don, did experience any, I don't know if you want to call it clinical depression or sadness or blues or whatever?
Interesting. You probably will understand. I am an optimistic person. My problem isn't depression, it's anxiety. It's anxiety. To me, the trigger is anxiety. And the warning sign is if I decide not to do something because I'm anxious. I see that as the beginning of a slippery slope. I don't know how you would see with patients, but then I have to say, get up on your feet, stand up, and get down there and do it. And because I know if I don't, I could probably slide down. And it has happened.
The sliding down has happened.
In terms of an anxiety, so much anxiety, it interfered with my work.
How'd you get out of it?
I actually sought professional help.
And it worked?
It worked.
Great.
It took 3 years.
No kidding.
I never missed a day of work or anything, but it was interesting earlier, your discussion about people who've been depressed and earlier, so more or less. I don't find the stress now of retirement anything like that tumultuous time in my life.
Sure. We've got, again, a difference of a guy who had thousands of people working under him, and at the top of the food chain, if you like, versus Mary, who, while not at the bottom of the food chain, you weren't at the top, you were somewhere in the middle, I guess, right? Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Different approaches for different, I mean, does this, come on in different ways depending on what you did for a living?
I mean, I think that what often is probably more similar than different is both of you talked about how your work life was also about people and also about community. And I think many of us don't realize, even if we have jobs we don't like at all, what it's like to be surrounded by community. So I think that for many people, part of what has an impact is to what degree, whether you realized it or not, did you feel connected to showing up and having a coffee with the person who who worked in the office next to you, even if it was to gripe about your boss. Because I think many people, partly why they don't anticipate that retirement will be a challenge, is if they don't like their job so much, they think, well, it'd be great to be retired. And then they realize the best part of their job was the coffee that they had with their colleague and the griping. And the birthday cake when it was somebody's birthday, and the goodbye party for the person who was leaving.
Showers, all
the
of
social
that,
part, getting up in the morning and having to get dressed and thinking about whether you're going to put on this tie or that tie.
Yeah.
All those things that may seem somewhat superficial to some or just day in and day out are actually
And
the structure of our lives.
The structure is a big issue.
How did you replace that, Mary? Going from a very structured existence to I get up in the morning and I really don't have to be anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, well, that was a tough one. And you talk about the slippery slope. You have to be so careful because you can go downstairs, sit down at the computer, check your email, and before you know it, it's 11 o'clock and you're still in your jammies, So that's a bad road to go down. What I found I had to do was, like you, I saw it coming. I noticed changes in myself. I noticed the kind of waves of sadness that were just coming out right out of nowhere. You're sitting there reading a book or whatever, and everything's fine, and it just comes over you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So when I saw that starting to happen, I thought, okay, first thing, get out of the house. That's the first thing. And
that means what?
If nothing else, at the very beginning, get out for a walk.
Just go for a walk.
Yeah, just go for a walk. Just get out of the four walls. And when you're walking, you're thinking. I also got connected to someone in the community who does meditation groups, sessions. Non-religious, just strictly clearing your mind, de-stressing, that kind of thing. That was very useful.
Do you do that every day now?
I highly recommend that. No, but I do it from time to time, and I'd highly recommend it because it really does enable you to clear your head.
But somebody like you, who, if I can put it this way, it's a vast generalization, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're a public servant for many, many years. Public servants have, very structured days. You have no structure in your day now.
That's right.
Did you have to recreate some
Yes,
structure?
I did.
So
yes,
what did you do?
Well, for me, what worked was saying, okay, you're going to pretend you're going to a job. You're going to get up, get showered, get ready, dressed, and so on, presentable, and then start your day. Someone suggested to me that what you also need is the night before, as you do sometimes with a job, write your to-do list for the following day, that you've always got to have something to be doing the following day. Because if you get up and you're aimless and you look and you say, well, now what, that's no good.
How did you replace the social interactions from work?
That's the toughest one, especially as you get older. It's more difficult to get out there and make friends and so forth. And I'm still working on that one. The first thing I did with the out walking thing was I went to a church in my neighborhood and asked them if they needed somebody to help with the gardening. Because I thought, okay, this is going to be good for me. Physical labor, outside, beautiful summer. So I did that all summer long, and that helped quite a bit. But yeah, and we'd make an appointment of when I was to be there, and I'd stay there for a certain amount of time. So you have to create your own structure.
Are you there yet?
No, not yet.
Still working on it?
Yeah, still working on it.
You've been
Yeah.
retired for more than a
Not
year.
quite 2 years, yeah.
Not quite
yeah.
so. And
Yeah.
you're still working at this.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh, yeah.
work in progress.
I
eh?
think that's the thing about retirement is that it is a work in progress, and from time to time you have to reassess. What worked for me, say 6 months ago, perhaps doesn't
Right.
work now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, it's very long, right? If you're lucky, your
Yeah.
retirement is very long.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
idea that you could, sorry, I hope I'm not interrupting,
Yeah.
Mary.
No.
If as you're planning, it's not so simple as saying, what do I want to do this year? So it's if you're fortunate, especially health-wise, for many people, they'll spend more time retired than they did in the workforce.
Retirement at
And I-
70 is different than at 80
Absolutely.
and at 90. And
So
you
it
have
requires
to,
revision.
And if I learned that what I should have done was anticipate
when I was working.
Yeah.
You need to anticipate now at my age for 10 years from now and beyond that. You need to put structures in place. I have some friends who, they play tennis. And that's their life. But what happens when those knees give out? And they will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do they do then?
What do they do
But
then?
maybe the term retirement is one that we should be rethinking a bit too, because people are living so much longer, and you retire at 60 and 65, you could have another 30 good years, possibly. So maybe transition is a better word than just retirement. There's something about now you're going to go to sleep, you're retired.
But is it fair to say are you busier now, quote unquote, in retirement than you were when you had one single full-time job?
Yes.
You are.
I'm much busier because I taught 5 courses, and I did it for many years, and I was director of an international center, but my hours were pretty structured, and I understood the courses I was teaching very, very well. Then all of a sudden, I've only been retired for 1 year, all of a sudden, I've got a novel that I have to promote. And so that's...
Okay, then promote it. What's it called?
It's called The Cook's Temptation.
The Cook's Temptation?
It's a Victorian novel, so I will promote it, and it's available on Amazon and Indigo.
There you go. Your publisher's thrilled already.
My publisher is thrilled. So there was that. And believe me, these days, that's a full-time job, because you're out there promoting your own book and doing a lot of social media. Then all of a sudden, the Globe and Mail blog came along, and that's fairly
How often do you do that?
bi-weekly,
Every other week?
every other week.
Okay.
And I
that
have,
takes some research and prep and all of that. So
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty serious piece
you don't
of
just
writing.
sit down and puke it out, right? You got to...
Oh, I wish. I wish, but it's not like that. So what I say now is I used to work 5 days a week. Now I work 7 days a week.
Why?
Well, I think it goes back to what you said a little. I'm a fairly anxious person. And rather than suffering from depression, when I was younger, I had anxiety problems.
How did they manifest themselves?
I was very, very anxious and panicky. And I found that keeping busy for me was a way of dealing with that.
So when you're busy, you don't get anxious.
I'm a happy person when I'm busy. But if I have way too much time to sit around and think about things, not so good for me.
Okay, I need the shrink in here now.
Yeah.
What does it say? I mean, what does that say about her character? Or maybe it says nothing about her.
I'm not.
I mean, that's going to be representative of a whole lot of people in this generation, right? Who are terrified of retirement because they're terrified of doing nothing.
So if I follow your question, so at the risk of sounding kind of odd for a psychiatrist to say, sometimes too much contemplation creates a lot of doubt and a lot of avoidance.
That is odd for a
I
psychiatrist
know,
to say.
and
Thank you.
and so I think there's something to be said for reflection, and there's something to be said for realizing that activity is what gives you, your kind of energy, and activity produces more activity. And I think whether each of you are talking about how if you leave too much time open to overthink and to overplan, you're going to end up in a situation where you avoid doing things. And I think the other thing that happens a lot if people's early phase of their retirement is too passive and too restful is they get into a rut where they don't even know how to start things anymore. It's as if you've had one long weekend for 6 months. And so I think what both of you are talking about is a kind of an awareness of yourselves individually, that if you leave yourself too much of a gap, if you're too unstructured, if you're too busy in your pajamas, enjoying doing things, whether it's having popcorn in your PJs, watching what's left of daytime television, then you're going to realize it's harder to get started, and you get out of practice.
That wouldn't have worked for me because fiction writing is so isolating anyway, and it's so much in your head. And when you've written 100,000 words, you've spent a lot of time with yourself anyways. And so having some structure around that, and also forcing yourself to sit down at your desk every day and write, let's
Discipline
say
to that, for sure.
800, 1,000 words every day, but still, even though it's reflective, it's busy.
It's active. And
It's active.
John, the thing I want to figure out from you is, though, you were a surgeon. Your job was to save lives, and then you ran a hospital, and your job was to sort of oversee the saving of lives. So you had a very purpose-driven job. How do you replace that purpose in life?
Well, one of the things is to get involved with, and that's why I'm on this board, and I'm looking actually to get onto other boards similar to book clubs for inmates
where there is a real social purpose in what we're trying to do. And so that, I think, is my beginning in that direction.
So you feel you still need to get up in the
Oh.
morning and have a purpose.
I do, and I think retirement is a whole process. I mean, we're just beginning, the two of us. And so this was my start. It's just been a year, and there'll be more. I think if we had an interview in a couple more years, I think there would be much more that I would hope there would be much more that I'd be involved in. And I would hope it would be along this line. When you get up in the morning, when I got up in the morning in the past, there was a purpose, a value to what I was doing. Do I miss that? That's why I've done this, and that's why I'll try to augment that activity with more social value work.
Can you possibly like this life as much as you clearly loved your prior life?
Yeah,
You can.
I'm very happy doing what I'm doing.
Really?
I need more. I need more. I need to be busier. I need to be restructured. I try to restructure my friends so that we're more together, but men are very difficult to. Women do much better than men in terms of organizing clubs and things, but we'll do that. So I've got to do all of that. But you know, I'm 72. I can relax a little bit.
Okay.
I can relax.
I didn't know you were that old, actually. Good for you.
I can sort of say, you know, listen, I retired at 72. That's not bad.
Let somebody else
Let
run the
somebody
hospital
else, you know, those sleepless nights, of which I had
for a while. Plenty.
365 a year, they're in the past. That's nice to have that behind me.
Mary, I don't get the sense, just from reading between the lines of what you've told us so far, that you like this life as much as you liked your prior life.
Well,
Not yet, anyway.
not yet. I got some, and I want to toss this in. Maybe this isn't appropriate to your question, but I got some very good advice at one point. Someone suggested that what you have to do when you retire and your job is gone, is taken away, you have to sit down with yourself and do an assessment and say, what were all the activities that I enjoyed in my job? So if you wrote, if you were particularly gregarious and liked to be around people, if you know, all the various components, and make a list of those, and whether or not you see yourself as a creative person or whatever, and then you have to address those and say, how can I get those needs met in retirement? And it may involve several different activities.
That's great. Who gave you that advice? That's great advice.
Actually, it was somebody with the Quarter Century Club with the Ontario government.
What's a Quarter Century Club?
Well, it's anybody who's been with the province over 25
Oh, I
years,
see.
and they
Okay.
send out a bulletin and so forth. But I just happened on this woman, and she'd been retired for a while, and she had been a workaholic, both in her job and as a retiree as well. She has continued to very active. But I thought that was really good advice, because you do have to do a self-assessment, and because one activity doesn't meet all your needs. You know, when people say, oh, go and do some volunteer work. Well, I knew right away that going and being a greeter at Sunnybrook or a volunteer of some kind, as valid as that is, wasn't going to work for me.
How come?
Because
That's a gregarious line of work. I mean,
yeah, but I needed more. So one suggestion, my meditation instructor actually happened to mention something called the Pathways to Education, which is a funded corporate and government-funded program to keep kids in high school and in troubled neighborhoods. And there's one in Regent Park, one in Lawrence Heights, and one in Scarborough. And I looked into the one that was near me, and that's a fantastic activity. It's like your prison thing. It's wonderful, because these are bright kids who are trying to stay in the school system. They've got financial restrictions. If they stay in this program right through to the tutoring program, right through to the end, they get $4,000, which kind of launches them into post-secondary. When I first heard about this program in 2006, at the particular school I'm near, there was not a single male graduate from high school,
And now?
not a one. And it's gradually creeping
It's
up,
getting up
creeping
there.
up.
Good.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead. I'm curious, because you're not really retired at all. I mean, you're working more than you ever did. So I wonder
Well,
if you are actually planning for the day when you actually are going to stop working in the way that you always have been.
Well, I promised myself at the beginning of the summer that I would work less.
How are you
And
doing on keeping that promise?
Not too good. I did it a little bit, and I didn't work on any fiction over the summer. But that's probably because we moved. I'm not doing that well, but I'll tell you something. As we're talking, I'm thinking, we are so lucky. I mean, most of the population is thinking, how am I going to survive when I get downsized or I get laid off or whatever? I mean, I think, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, that we all have defined benefit pension plans, which are going the way of all flesh. So if you're sitting there thinking, can I live on my CPP and my old age security pension, and you're wondering how you're going to do it, you've got a real problem. Luckily, none of us sitting in this room have that problem. And so there's so many choices, Steve, that are open to us. And it just gives up, it makes for such a rich and exciting time. When I don't want to work so much, or when I can, force myself to slow down, if that's the word, maybe I can. I seem to be enjoying a lot more time with my daughter, who's in her mid-20s and is spending a lot more time with me, with her boyfriend. And I'd say for the first time in my life, I'm actually really just enjoying family, just sitting around enjoying family.
For the first time in your life?
Yeah, I'd say for the first time in my life,
Really?
as an adult, yeah.
Huh.
I was too busy working. And so I'm beginning to enjoy family and friends in a way that I really didn't have time for most of my adult life.
One of the reasons, obviously, we want to do this program is that, in part because of the economy, a lot of people are being downsized early and retirement is being forced upon them earlier than they wanted to. Partly because the baby boomer generation, which of course experiences life in a way unlike any other generation.
I'm sorry about that.
And it's all new and original and fascinating for the boomers. They want to do everything, of course, better and more originally than every other generation in the past. So this is going to be a thing. This is going to be a bigger thing. Are we ready for this yet?
So there's so many ways I could answer that. I mean, I think that we've alluded to the fact that there are more elderly people than there've ever been in the history of being old. That's the reality, which means there are going to be more people who are elderly or seniors or older, whatever word feels most comfortable for people.
More centenarians than ever.
Who have worked and then have stopped work. I think there's a really important point around what it's like to have the sort of luxury of reflecting on one's life and thinking about being able to make some of these choices, whether because you're lucky enough to be healthy, have a little bit of economic comfort. There's a whole other group that isn't necessarily isn't at this table, people who don't have the luxury that may be described here. But regardless, I think that we're ready in the sense that this generation is used to thinking about the future, is used to thinking about itself, is used to thinking about feelings and plans and whatnot. Whether or not we're ready from a mental health perspective, I think in general there's a lot of mental health need that isn't being met now, so we have to build for the future. But there's a lot, I think, around supporting people economically, supporting, recognizing. It was a really interesting point that you made around volunteerism, because I think there's a lot of capacity people have after they've retired that is so untapped, because the only kinds of volunteer jobs feel as if they're kind of just superficially reaching what someone's experiences are. So I think we could do a much better job finding really significant ways for people to use their skills, if they want to. Not everyone has to use their retirement, to devote themselves, to something. But for people who want to, we should use that.
Well, let me ask you the odd follow-up, which is, when we think of retirement, we think of people in their 60s and 70s who are dealing with this for the first time. There's a guy who plays shortstop for the New York Yankees who's been doing it for 20 years, who's one of the greatest players in the history of the game. His name's Derek Jeter. He's 40. He's about to retire. Are we having a different conversation if you're retiring from the thing that you've done every day of your life for 30 years when you're 40 as opposed to 70?
I mean, probably in terms of, you can think about first acts, second acts, third acts, and maybe for some people fourth and fifth acts. So the younger you are when you retire, the more you may have, kind of dreams that you've just been sort of delaying, deferring, but you have the chance to kind of make happen.
He doesn't. He said, I want an empty calendar for 2 years.
Yeah. My colleagues would be laughing that I'm being kind of asked a sports question. But I think in general, the more singularly you are involved in one thing, the more challenging it might be to make a transition. But I think in some ways it can be deceptive, because it can look as if somebody is only interested in one thing, but they may broadly be interested beyond their career in terms of reading and politics and whatnot. People may look more one-note wonders than they really are. And so I don't know Mr. Jeter. I don't know what else he thinks about.
You don't know Mr. Jeter.
I've heard of him.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
He may be interested in many other things that we don't know about that he's going to do
Well,
for
we'll find
his
out.
second act.
But I want to know, I mean, John, did you ever... Jeter has, I mean, he's famously giving exit interviews all over the place, in which he, when the people always ask him, so what do you want to do now? And his answer is always the same: nothing. I've had every minute of my life scheduled for the last, I don't want to do anything. I mean, pushing the comparison a bit here, but you had a very high-powered active life for 3.5, 4 decades.
4 decades.
4 decades. So did you ever think to yourself, when I'm done doing this, I want to do nothing?
Yes. Oh, yes. In fact, I remember in grade 2, when they talked about retirement, it was 65. I remember working out what year I would be. 65. It's my favorite thing to do then was stare out the window. But yes, I've enjoyed it, but it's time to start restructuring and pulling it together. There is a risk to doing nothing, and that's social isolation and the slippery slope. I've loved sitting in the garden, reading, but it's time to move on. I can understand exactly why Mr. Jeter Derek is anxious to do nothing for a while.
Leslie, I know that when you came to the studio today to do this program, you did not think we'd be talking about the shortstop for the New York Yankees.
Of all the things I thought I needed to prepare, reading the sports page was not the thing that I thought I was going to have to do, but I am familiar with him.
Okay, then in our last minute here,
Yes.
do you want to just give some generic tips on people who find themselves in a similar situation?
Sure. I mean, I think we've talked about them, all together. I think planning, thinking about what are the things that you love about getting up each day, even if you don't actually love your job, what are the things you love about the people, is worth thinking about. Planning economically, financially, so that you can make a plan. I actually think it's maybe a bit of a tangent, spending time earlier in your career thinking about what you've deferred and actually not deferring it. So starting some of those things that you love to do, whether it's cooking classes earlier or starting to write novels, and that's not meant to be pressure, but I think sometimes we defer, and although we haven't spoken about it here, many of the disappointments for some people in retirement is they think they're going to do something and they're not able to, and then they really regret that they hadn't started things sooner. Right. So in some ways, my advice is, rather than just plan for your retirement, plan for your life so that you can start to do the things that are meaningful to you at whichever point in your career you realize they're meaningful, so that you've got them as a kind of sustainable through line, even post-retirement.
That's great. I can't thank all of you enough for coming in tonight and helping us out with this. This is a fascinating discussion, and we wish all of you well in your so-called retirements. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.